It's all working. Okay, so what we were doing is figuring out why, or trying to remove human locations and give all the humans their own homes. That was the plan, and it's working reasonably well. And we just need to kind of crack on and do that. So what we need to do here is basically say if the enterable ID, which basically is where the person is not the same as the human's home entity ID. That's how we know whether they're not at home or not. And then we can move them home, and that needs to be the enterer, I believe. Pretty sure. Yeah. Why do we need the home entity ID? Oh, that's move human home. Human home entity ID. There we go. Okay. Oh, let me just tweet as well to say I'm streaming for a bit longer today. Stream. Let's just say that. It's probably worth doing. Copy a link to tweet. New streaming for a bit longer today. Bang, bang, bang. Okay. Right, so that's done. So let's keep moving. Okay, let's see if this is going to work. Oh, really? I was sure that I had home entity ID in there. Home city entity ID. No, no, that's not what I meant actually. It is home entity ID. Where's that creating home? Ah, human home entity ID. Oh, maybe we just didn't add it. This also needs to be not a uint 8. Okay, home entity ID. That's fine, we can set that. Okay, let's see. A bunch of these are wrong. Okay. Okay, which arena were we using? We're using the state history arena. Here we go. Okay, and again, state history arena. That's what we're putting everything on at the moment. We can always sort that out later. Okay, same again. Okay, same again. Right, use to undeclared identifier home entity ID. Where's that push entity? Oh, there it is. There we go. Okay, that's compiling. That means that we're creating a new home for everybody in the system. Now, I think that will work. The question is, in the city controller, when it comes to look at, are we actually putting, we're not putting them in the premises container at the moment. No, now do we want to do that? That's an interesting question. If we put them in the premises container, that means they'll show up in the city. Even if you have access to them. So what do we currently do? we look through them all. We've said here don't show operations unless we can visit them. Yeah, that's like, so we show operations that are open or shut, which is fine if they've got that particular component. So that's fine. If they don't have an operation component, then we kind of treat them differently. We need to see whether or not we have access to them or not. And that'll come down to whether that's our home, I think. Okay, so this is reasonably easy. So we need to say operation raw, if operation, then we can do this. Actually, some of this stuff we can rework. So if it's open, we show it. We show it anyway at this point. So we're cloning one of these. We're naming it. Organization ID is actually the wrong thing to say. This is actually a premises ID now. It's not necessarily an organization because you might have homes here. Okay. Organization. Right, so this is us filling in the template for the organization, which is fine because it's like an operation. Now this one, did I make that? Yes, I did. Okay, so when it doesn't have that, then we can just do something quite different. We'll show it, and actually we'll show the long version of the name. So in this case, I want to actually say home template clone, but I only want to do it if we have access, which means that, who are we? We are the viewer, aren't we, in this case? Yes, viewer. Yeah, we're the viewer. Interesting. Okay, which means that in this case, else if premises ID equals let's think about this. Equals our viewer home entity ID. So if it's our home, we'll show it. So that's fine. Yeah, that works for me. Okay, so in the city RML, which I have open, templates, we want to show a slightly different thing. Home template. Now it's got the organization CSS on it, and that's fine. I don't really care about that. Now we're short, and then we need 116. So we want to put that name in there. We'll call it organization. It's fine. The interesting thing is we want to show the visit and the here stuff. I think that's interesting. We want to show whether or not we're here. Let's think about this. So we've got some code in here which is quite interesting. This is if the thing is open or not. So we do want to show visit So that means we need this bit from the organization template. And we need this bit I think. Don't care about that. Don't care about that. Do care about that. Fine. So we need to say, it's good to know if we're here, we're always open because it's our home. And if we're here, we show we're here. If not, we don't. Fine. Is there anything else we need to do? And this stuff is actually the same as well. So we want to set the organization to be the organization ID, which doesn't exist anymore. It's the premises ID. Premises ID. That one. And we want to add it to the list. Yes. So actually, I kind of want to do this. We kind of want to. Well, it's not quite the same logic, so I'm just going to copy it for now. That's fine. So now we should have a home listed. The organization strapline we can put in here. We don't care about that one. The strapline we do actually care about, and we can just simply say yeah, I do definitely want to put this here. And I want to say strapline string. Where's that coming from? Oh, it's a display string. It's basically your house. It's a display string, and the string is simply home. Yeah, we'll reuse the same one. Okay, so that should show that person in that house, and that might actually just work. It'd be quite fun if it did. Let's see. Yeah, that should be an E and that should be an I. Premises? No, premises. Premises. That's just wrong everywhere. That's not how you spell it. Premises ID. Yeah. Okay. So now what should happen is a few things. What's wrong with that? Nameable long should be a thing. Nameable full is a thing, of course. Okay, so now we should create a home for each person, which will massively increase the number of homes there are. Mind you, there aren't that many people living there. One thing I do want to do is actually collapse the homes for the different families, so that if you're in a family, you don't live in your own house. That would be a bit weird, I have to say. So let's just go and run this. Now the crucial point will be when it actually comes to create those houses. And in fact, I'm going to just break at the point at which it does that, just to make sure that all of that code is working. So where is that? There it is. Let's just make sure that's working. Okay, so choose these guys. Okay, so now we create a new home for someone. Home entity ID is 1962, so there's quite a lot of homes, or quite a lot of entities. We add a new premises to that one. We set the premises container entity ID. Oh, the other thing we're not doing is we're not adding it to the list yet. No, I need to do that. That comes from new organization. So yeah, we definitely need to do that. It's this thing. So let's just grab that game controller, and we need to do this here. So this is whatever this is. Human home city entity ID. Premises container premises. Yeah, that's correct. And this is going to be home entity ID. Fine. Okay, so now we've actually added it to the list of homes in the city, in that particular city. We should be able to see individual people's homes when we actually view the list. We should be able to see our home more specifically, and it'll be at the bottom of the list, which is kind of annoying, but yeah, we can work that out. Okay. Okay, so let's create a new history. Whole stack of people. We won't create homes for them until we actually generate or start the game. So we'll go through this process. Okay, so there we go. Right, so let's go through. So we create the premises. The premises container ends up being, where are we? Okay, that's 1962, which is that right? The human's home city should be. No, that's not right. Oh no, premises entity ID is right, and then the container entity ID is correct, yeah. Okay, so then we push the here. We don't allow socializing at our house. That means people won't just show up. If we allowed socializing here, what would happen is people would actually just turn up at our house for a party. Isn't kind of what we want. Okay, so we set the nameable. It's a special type of nameable. Then we set the enterable ID of the enterer, which is the human. And we set their home to be that too, which means that he's going to stay there. And then we add it to the premises list. Cool, so let's just go through that again. Yeah, there'll be lots of those, lots and lots. So what is the alive human count right now? Unfortunately, that could be quite high. How many of these homes are we actually going to be creating? Slightly worries me. 272. That's not huge. It could have been worse. Okay, so let's see what happened here. So we're trying to display the home string. Now I'm sure I'd created a home string earlier today. Home short. Huh. Right, so that's not actually helpful. We don't really want home short at all. That is not what I want. What I really want is home strapline. Or I could just not have it. I mean, to be honest, it's a little extra. It's a nice to have. I don't think it's necessary. So strapline. Forget that. And then if I go to city RML, I don't want that. It's gone. It's gone away. I don't want it anymore. Enough. I don't want to talk about the thing being a house or an apartment or a flat or anything like that. We're not really at that point. Cool, that was quicker than I thought it would be. Okay, right, run it. Run it, baby. So let's see what happens if I do this. So I got through all the creation of homes and adding people to them, which is a great start. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, boom. Start game. Is it going to work? Oh, it almost worked. Right, so we're now pushing an enterer. So why are we pushing an enterer? Ah, we're adding the enterers, but it thinks that we already have an enterer for this entity ID. Interesting. So, which means that an enterer is the component that allows people to go into things. The question is are we actually doing that already somewhere else that I didn't realize? Yes, we're doing it in a couple of places. So we're pushing them at the beginning of the game, and we're also pushing them. What's the difference there? Oh, that's what adding one every frame. Yeah, that's completely wrong. Oh, what I'm trying to do, of course, is not push the enterer. I'm trying to find the enterer for this particular person, which of course is completely different. Okay. So basically what that was is that every frame it's trying to find a particular component of a human, which is the enterer component. That's the thing that goes into things and moves around. Could probably call it the mover, but you know, just don't know. Okay, let's just scoot through. Okay, another crash, find operation. So we've not been able to find a particular operation. Ah, now this is because we are looping through all of the premises in the city and we've not been able to find an operation for one. That's because there are humans now. So, sorry, there are homes now which you don't need to go through. So the premises container, that's fine. Okay, so the point is if this is not the thing that we are in, what is this for? Why are we going here? We're going here if we want to socialize, is that correct? Yes. The point of this is to go somewhere to socialize. Oops. So this is actually broken at the moment. So we can't find all the operations. If there isn't an operation, we shouldn't even look at it. Or, what we should actually say is if there should be an operation raw. Right. If there is no operation, or we are within the working times of the operation. So basically, if it isn't a business, yeah, this is good. Or the opening hours are valid, then we can carry on looking. So that means that that's right. So then we can consider this. So yeah, that's better. And then we're not really referring to operations after that, are we? Fine, yeah, that'll work. So now if there's no operation, we don't bother checking the working hours. That's the idea. Did that compile? Sorry, I'm distracted. It did. Okay, scoot through this. Great. So now, oh look, we're seeing things. Fantastic, and hopefully the Piddler's house. This is where I am. Look at that, it worked. So if I go to it, it fails. Oh well. Okay, so we're now trying to show an organization panel, but there is no operation. That's exactly the error we want. That's really good. I'm really happy that that worked. The only thing that I wasn't happy about was the capitalization. The Piddler's house, home. That was really good though. We're really getting there. Okay, fine. So the error that we got was that we couldn't find an operation in the show organization panel of the city controller, which isn't surprising. It was looking for an operation for some reason. Why was it looking for an operation? Let's see. Let's see. Oh, it needs it for the size thing, for the organization description. Yeah, we don't really care about that if we don't have one. So again, we just need to do operation raw, and this is organization ID. So this is like the optional version of that call. So if there's an operation, we'll actually fill it in. Otherwise, we won't bother because I don't want to see any of that stuff. This is working very well. I'm really pleased with how this is turning out. It's kind of all dropping out nicely. It would be really nice if you could actually see your family there, and I need to think about how to do that. Basically, I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go through, work out who should be creating a house for each unit, which is basically down to would I move, what about my dependents, basically. Create the family houses, and then just move people to the ones that they need to be in, basically. That's kind of what I want to do. Home. Okay, so that's just wrong. So show organization panel is obviously showing, what's it doing in the title? It's just a short name. Yeah, the short name isn't very good, is it? Home short. Maybe nameable short should always be, yeah, just home is rubbish. The surname is home. Okay, that's fine, we're already there. If I click visit the mining station, I'm now there. And if I go down here, I can visit. I should be back at my house. No, not quite. Okay, so we're trying to find another operation. Okay, so this is me trying to actually look at my home, which is different. So that would have worked. Right, so there's a few things I want to do. I want to get this organization controller sorted out so that it basically works. Oops. Show organization. So if we can't do operations anymore. So we need to do the same thing as before. Operation raw. Organization ID, if operation. We'll chuck that. Otherwise I'm not going to show anything. There's an enterable, so we can say who's there. That's not a problem. Any other operations in this whole thing? No. So that should, in theory, just work. Nice. I'm already thinking, you should be able to have parties at the house. You should be able to do all this cool stuff. But yeah, we're not there yet. But this is cool. This is really cool. I didn't expect to be able to add homes in like under an hour. That's just really, really interesting. The entity component system is really working. Okay, so let's try that again. And if you think about it, if I wanted different sizes of homes and things like that, it would be quite easy too, because there's nothing to stop me hoiking size out of operation into, say, premises and going with that. Just move through this. Great, so we're at our home, so let's have a look at it. There's no one there. Back to the city. There's me there. Visit my home. There I'm there. Woohoo! Why wasn't I there to start with? That was weird. Very odd. Slightly strange. Oh, I probably hadn't added myself. Yeah, there's two things there. I'd added myself to the... Right, so in the game controller, yeah, I know what this is. I've added myself to the home, but I shouldn't have done that. That was a mistake. Here, I'd done this, which I shouldn't have done. What I should have done is said move human to, move human home. Simple as that. In fact, back to that and that, move human home. And state pump actually is the address. Perfect. So that's what I need to do instead of just assuming that that works. So what that will do is it'll move me to the home entity ID, which then does the proper kind of left and leaving and that kind of stuff. Great, so this home creation is really working. What I'd really like to do now is see if I can get people sharing homes. So what we've done today, which has been really good, is I've done a bunch of work on the conversation stuff around ship hiring, which worked really well earlier. And now what I'm doing is I'm adding the ability for people to have homes using the new entity component system that I've written. And this has just been really helpful to kind of see the sorts of things that I can do with this thing quickly. Because ultimately, with a game like this, you need to be able to iterate on gameplay really fast. If you can't, you're in trouble. Because I just need to make sure... Oh, I should have pressed that. I need to make sure that it just plays really well every time. What have I done? Oh, this is a problem. This is a memory overwrite issue. It's because I created a new state but didn't purge the info correctly for some reason. Yeah. I know about that one. I need to look at that one. I wonder if that's repeatable. Yes, it is. Okay, that's really good to know. Okay, I think I should probably look at that bug. The reason that this is a problem is because we are removing a particular info list because someone has died, basically. We're purging these in-game acquired knowledge blocks. Now, interestingly, in-game acquired knowledge isn't used at all. All we do is we create a new info block. Now this probably was relying on the info block arena to be zeros, and I don't think it was. I think that was the problem. So the arena that we're giving is info list 4. It depends on where that was called from. So what are the different types of arena that we could have? A history arena, history. That could be anything. That'll be the history. That'll be the history. Yeah. So this is interesting. So what we need to be able to do is we need to be able to say clear, when we create a new state, when we hit the generate button in the world gen controller, what is it actually doing? In fact, what is that button even called? It's not regenerate, it's just generate, isn't it? Yeah, ID is generate. Right. If it's generate, we choose what we want to do. We do a state creator, which does initialize history. Ooh, interesting. That's not creating. That does not create state. That does not do what it says it does at all. Because initialize new history, or it's supposed to zero memory arena, but it obviously doesn't. For those particular info stores. See, create new state is what I thought it was doing. Now that is only called in one place, and it's only ever done once. Which means that if we use a different arena for that info, which we might be doing, then we're in trouble. I need to think about that. But basically it means that the history arena should be set for us. The info list 4, that's the interesting one, info list 4. It should be zeroing the history arena, which means all of this stuff. Ah, no. Right, zero memory arena does not zero the arena. Well, it might do. Oh, it does do it. Yeah, that's what I expected to do. So it's trying to clear the data completely using a probably very inefficient way of doing it. That's not the same as clearing it or setting it to 0. That's actually writing zeros over it, which is actually what we want it to do, which is good. Yeah, that is actually, I think, what I wanted to do. Thinking about it. Oh, it's definitely what I wanted to do. It's more about, I was expecting that to actually do what I was expecting it to do. So is there an assert we could put in earlier? Push struct. See, this purge the error that we're getting is the in-game acquired knowledge has got stuff in it, and it should be 0. So we can check that earlier. Oh, well, it's a new info block, but it's an info block pointing to rubbish. So it's always set to something. No, it's got rubbish in it. So that looks more like it. Could it be? When I'm writing the info entry, let's just have a look at the info entry. I could just be overwriting. No, well, yeah, I could be overwriting that pointer somehow. That's possible. So info list, let's have a look. Know where the target, max closest, in-game acquired knowledge. I mean, we just don't use this stuff. The question is, will it just pull up somewhere else? That's the problem. It's difficult to know. Difficult to know what to do. I mean, we don't use it, but the problem, so we can safely delete it. The problem is that what is overwriting that memory? You know, if it's a memory overwrite, then something on the second time run is overwriting. Or we're just using we're using something that we're not expecting. Let's see what we can do here. This is all working fine. What we actually need to do is do a regenerate. So let's try running that again. Oops. You just started running slow again. I wonder why that is. We were doing so well, and now it's just decided it's had enough. Let's see. Yeah, I think I could probably try and speed up a bit by closing some windows I don't need, like that one. That'll hopefully help. Oh, it doesn't seem to make any difference. Oops. Ah. That's what that button does. Interesting. Okay, so let's go back here. Yeah, it hasn't really dropped. Oh well. Okay. Right, so generate the first time. Right, so let's try this again. Yeah, that's really odd. Unless I've got some weird thing going on with those info blocks purging, which is quite possible. Oh, okay, so now we hit the move human to home. So the problem is that that's where they already are. Did we move them there? Yes, we shouldn't have done that. Yeah, I'm a bit suspicious of that bug. It could easily be a bug with the info list, purge info list blocks. That's possible. And one way of finding that out would be, no, not that. So delete, yeah, so keep purging, and then head to this, and add that back. But then, when I create a new one, here, say something like assert result in game acquired knowledge, because the problem was that it was, yeah, count so that there's nothing in it or something.